a new issue. For those of us, I am ethnically Italian Cypriot, I was born in London. We've lived with this all our lives. All of us in this room have got an interest, a special interest in Cyprus. We know what a long-running conflict, is now being called a frozen conflict, which I think sort of does sum it up. It's a conflict that's been long-running, too long, keeping communities apart, and I think many of you will agree, it's causing division since 1974. The conflict goes way back to 1963. It's a historic, unattended conflict that really needs to be some impetus to try and improve the situation of all Cypriots on the island. We've had some ups and downs over the years. We had a very good opportunity with the Annan Plan over a decade ago, a missed opportunity. Now we're in the middle of a new process, which unfortunately stalled again. As Nick mentioned, the discovery of hydrocarbons and gas in 2011 was seen as a huge opportunity for prosperity and a catalyst to bring the conflict, bring people together, and to ensure that all people in Cyprus would benefit from this. Their standard of living should increase if this was ever to be realised and utilised. But unfortunately, as ever in Cyprus, nothing is ever that simple. And instead of acting as a positive catalyst, it seems to have become almost a poison chalice and has had a reverse effect rather than being a positive influence. It seems to have become a bit of a negative influence. The Cyprus issue in this building has probably been debated dozens and dozens and dozens of times, way before my sort of experience, way back. And it's got to the stage where when we talk about Cyprus, and many of us in the all-party groups, those of us who are parliamentarians who have particular interests, we try to keep this issue alive because there are more important issues as Parliament sees it. Syria, we've got the Middle East, we've got Ukraine, we have Russia, we have all sorts of other, what the politicians will see as a far more important, more pressing problems with terrible crisis and conflict and war going on. So Cyprus has been put on the back burner, very much so. I believe the Foreign Office here and Britain as a guarantor country does have a responsibility for this, of not pushing more to get more movement, to get more, to get a proper comprehensive settlement. But whenever we try to raise it, there are always more pressing issues. But by keeping it alive, we try to impress how important it is for the people of Cyprus. It's a very important issue, and it's now become even more important for the stability and for the benefits, not only of Cyprus, but for the region, for that Eastern Europe Mediterranean region. It is now so important that this matter should be resolved. It cannot simply drag on forever. We all live in hope. So we do what we can here in Parliament. I certainly do, since I entered the House of Lords 5 years ago. I've done what I can, and I know the politicians and parliamentarians have pushed very hard to ensure that Britain, as a guarantor country, uses its influence as much as possible and not simply delegate it to the United Nations as it has historically. So I'm delighted to welcome the three speakers here. Just a word, I mean, maybe you're here because you're interested. I always say this when I go to Cyprus, and I go all the time. There are far more of us here in London than there are in Cyprus. Bigger community. We're a huge diaspora here. We have huge influence. We should be pressing our politicians, your MPs, more and more. We've got an election, as you heard from Nick, who's on now campaigning. You have an ideal opportunity with the elections coming up in May to press your MPs to say, what is your position? What are you doing to try and resolve this Cyprus issue? It's so unfair that there is so little political will and capital to resolve this issue. So I urge all of you to try to lobby and push your elected representatives as far as possible to do far more than wring their hands. So I'm not going to say any more now, but I'm going to introduce our first speaker, and I'm delighted that we have Mr. Cemal Özyiğit. He is the chairman. I have to get his title right now. Who is he? Make sure I've got the right title. He's the general secretary. Chairman. TDP party, and which is the Turkish Cypriot Social Democratic Party, and he's going to address us first, and then we're going to hear from the other speakers. I'm going to ask them all to keep their speeches fairly limited, because I want to allow enough time for questions and answers afterwards, because I know people come here to hear you, but I think they also want to ask you some very important questions. So I would ask you first of all, Cenab Bey, to address them. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
can everyone hear?
Good evening. I am very happy together with you this evening. It is known that the Cyprus problem is ongoing for more than half a century. The negotiations to find a solution to the Cyprus problem are continuing since 1968. The peak summits of Denktaş Makarios in 1977 and Denktaş-Kyprianou in 1979 unfortunately could not be implemented, and the deadlock continued. In 2004, the Annan Plan was submitted to a referendum, but the Turkish Cypriots 65% yes was met with Greek Cypriots 76% no. As a result, reunification could not be possible again. Negotiations stagnated after the referendum, significantly accelerated since 2007, but somehow could not reach the expected results yet one more time. Finally, the process gained new momentum on February 11th, 2014, with the announcement of a joint declaration. This declaration has clarified previously problematic issues and made an emphasis to bizonal, bicommunal federation based on political equality, as well as single sovereignty, single international identity, and single citizenship. Resumed negotiations have continued intensively with this text until summer 2014. In the summer of 2014, the parties made extensive preparations, and it was expected that in October 2014, substantive negotiations would start. But suddenly, the negotiation table disappeared and the process suffered from interruptions. The reason for this is hydrocarbon gas. However, the gas thought to be around Cyprus, especially in 12 parcel, it named Aphrodite, was supposed to accelerate the negotiation process and was thought to play a role of catalyst for a solution. Meanwhile, as if it was decided how the gas in 20 parcel was going to reach Europe by passing from which road, the Greek Cypriots embarked on a new drilling. In response, Turkey and Turkish Cypriots decided to engage in seismic exploration around Cyprus in line with an agreement they reached in 2011. Now text was declared and warships were sent to the region to strengthen this position. The Greek Cypriot leader Anastasiades withdrew from the negotiations. At the same time, Israel, Russia, and the Republic of Cyprus launched a military search and rescue exercise in the region. In those days, the UN Secretary General's special representative Espen Aide came to Cyprus to eliminate tension and to check the pulse for the resumption of the talks. Mr. Aide, who came to visit our party, heard from us that simultaneous steps have to be taken at the same time. We said that would be the right approach. In this context, the Greek Cypriots must stop all drilling. Turkey must cancel their navtex and withdraw her vessels, and Mr. Anastasiades must restart the negotiations by returning back to the table. Unfortunately, this did not happen at the time, and the parties took no action. However, soon after, it was understood that the drilling activities conducted by the Greek Cypriot side on the 9th parcel could not yield a positive result. Again, in those days, it was announced that Turkey would terminate navtex and give an end the two seismic explorations on December 30, 2014. As TDP, our party, we emphasized that this was an opportunity that should be considered. Ironically, this time, Mr. Anastasiades said, Turkey will recognize our sovereignty, and then we will sit at the table. Upon that Turkey released a new navtex. Now the tension is still going on and the negotiations could not yet start. Way out from the crisis, Varosha and gas should be on the table. Varosha issue has remained a taboo by the Turkish Cypriots and all other Turkish Cypriot political parties apart from us, as well as the Turkish Cypriot leadership, saw Varosha as part of a holistic solution. However, at the 1979 peak agreement between Denktash and Cipriano, the issue was discussed and it was agreed that a deal on Varosha could be implemented without waiting for a comprehensive solution. As TDP, we say that negotiations for a comprehensive settlement should start immediately, and parallel to that, two technical tables should also be set up. One for Varosha and one for the gas. In this context, Varosha should be transferred to the legal owners under the UN. Famagusta port must be opened to free trade, and Ercan or Timbu airport must be opened to direct flights. Regarding the parcel known as Aphrodite, where the potential revenue is estimated to be around 10 and $15 billion. the Greek Cypriots are refugees. We discussed the subject concerning the removal, distribution and the sale of the gas, negotiation with foreign parties, authorities only by themselves, and telling us that they will put our share to a bank account as if it is a kind gesture on their part, offering it as a blessing to the Turkish Cypriots. However, there are rights of Turkish Cypriots established in 1960, arising from the Constitution of the Republic of Cyprus. Therefore, in the second technical negotiation table, all natural resources like the hydrocarbon gas, oil, and even the water coming from Turkey should be discussed regarding how it will be removed, distributed, and shared fairly among all rightful Cypriots, Greek Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots, Armenian Cypriots, Maronites, and Latins. Role of the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has a fundamental responsibility, both because of its position as the guarantor in 1960 and as a member of the EU. Therefore, the British government must take immediate initiative to remove the blocks along the negotiation process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jamali, for that very comprehensive introduction as to where we are now in terms of the Cyprus situation. I'm now going to ask Mr. Hussein Angolemli, who is a member of